can't make this stuff up, you guys. So Airbnb just built a replica of that house from the movie Up. Like, you can actually book this place and stay there if you want. And they're not messing around. They wanted your experience to be so similar to the movie Up that if you do go and stay here, you're going to find that the house itself is actually suspended over the New Mexico desert by a crane. This whole Up build out is part of one of Airbnb's new stunt promotions that they're doing under a permanent category that you'll find on their platform called Icons. And under this Icons umbrella of properties, you're gonna find a bunch of homes that are extremely unique, or a bunch of homes that are either owned by or hosted by celebrities. Like, one of them they did is in Malibu, California. It's called Barbie's Dream House. Another one is called Shrek's Swamp. This one is epic. It's called The Last Blockbuster. You can actually go and stay in the last standing blockbuster in the world. They've got one called the X Mansion, which is X-Men themed. I'm not joking, you guys, and that thumbnail was not clickbait. Like, all of these houses are actual houses that you can go stay at that Airbnb has created. The CEO of Airbnb, Brian Chesky, did this Steve Jobs style press release on this whole Icons program. So in today's episode, I just want to watch this thing together. Like, he goes into a bunch of detail on what these products and experiences are going to be all about and how you can book them and stuff. Completely fascinating. I have no idea why Airbnb is going down this path, but let's try to learn more about it together.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I am so happy that you're all here. I'm excited to share our 2024 release.
It feels like what he's about to show us is the next iPad or something.
10 years ago, I was living in this apartment in San Francisco with my roommate and co-founder, Joe. And one day, we needed to get some furniture. So we get in a car, and we drive to an IKEA. And we're walking through the IKEA, and we pass a showroom of a bedroom, just like this one. And we walk up to the bed. We look at each other, and we say, maybe we should put this bedroom on Airbnb. And that's what we did. And a family of three stayed there, and people started talking about it. They literally couldn't believe it.
I actually never heard about that.
Now, when I was a kid, I used to love Blockbuster. And there were thousands of them all over the world. But today, there's only one Blockbuster left in the entire world. And it's in Bend, Oregon.
I've actually been there. I've been to Bend, Oregon quite a few times. One of my closest friends lives out there. I've been out there to mountain bike a bunch, and I always thought it'd be cool to go check this place out. Unfortunately, when I went, it was closed, so we just drove by, but yeah.
So we call the store manager up about listing the Blockbuster on Airbnb. And we decided that we would make the interior feel just like you're in your friend's living room in the 90s.
That is awesome. As someone who grew up in the 90s, my house wasn't quite that cool growing up, but yeah, it had that vibe.
And we listed it, and something unexpected happened. We tapped into a sense of nostalgia, and it went viral. Last summer, the Barbie movie came out. And when it was released, it became a cultural sensation. So we found a real house in the hills of Malibu, and we transformed it into Barbie's Malibu Dream House. And it also became a sensation. This is a photo, by the way, not a rendering. We decked out the house inside and out, recreating Ken's rodeo bedroom. This guy was really into Westerns. It felt like you were stepping inside of Barbie land. And millions of people wanted to stay here.
I didn't see the Barbie movie. I don't really have any interest, to be honest, but I'm not gonna lie, this house looks pretty epic. I would definitely stay here just for the experience. I think my wife would like it a little bit more than me, though.
Today, we are introducing Icons.
Still feels like an Apple product.
Icons are extraordinary experiences from the world's greatest icons in music, film, sports, and more. What I'm gonna do right now is unveil the first 11 icons. So you ready?
See, I told you guys there was a lot of them. I think I mentioned like 4 or 5 in the start of this video. They've got 11 houses like this that are already done, already available.
It starts with Up. The Up house is one of the most iconic homes in any film ever. And now, you can book it on Airbnb in Malibu, New Mexico.
That is insane.
This is not a rendering, this is a photo of the real house in New Mexico, because you're gonna be able to stay in Carl and Ellie's home, and it will feel like you're stepping inside the movie. This is a real house that we built from scratch. We had to literally paint every detail of the home to match the exact...
From what I'm seeing here, we're looking at a house that was built as a temporary structure. I'm going to assume that once this thing's run its course for a couple of months, they're gonna take it out of commission, break it down, and who knows where they'll put it.
But here's the crazy thing, because it doesn't just look like a house on the outside. This is what it looks like in the inside. By the way, this is not a rendering, this is a photograph. I wanna give you a sense of just how real this house is. Okay, this is a still from the movie, and this is the house that we created. This is a photograph, a shot from the movie, and this is a photograph of the house that we created.
Just look at some of these details here. Like, I cannot imagine how much money they spent to do this. Like, this is probably like an 800 square foot house or something at the most. Like, maybe it's a 500 square foot house, but all of these little details and trinkets and stuff to recreate all this, they had to have spent a couple $1,000,000 to put this thing together.
But that's not the best part. The best part is this. This is not just a house. This is an experience. Because just like in the movie, this house goes up.
Oh my gosh, you gotta hand it to him. Whether you love or hate Airbnb, this is so creative.
This is a 40,000-pound house with 8,000 balloons attached to it. And it's suspended 50 feet above the ground, and starting today, you can book it on Airbnb.
So I'm not gonna lie, you guys, before I even started this video, I already went to the listing and I requested to book it. This up house has an official listing on the Airbnb website, and you gotta go to that listing and you have to request a book and you have to fill out a bunch of information about yourself. I put all my information there. I said I would stay here literally anytime. I put the fact that I had a YouTube channel and I would love to share it with you guys. So let's all cross our fingers. Maybe I'll get to stay in the up house, and if so, I'm taking you guys along. That would be epic.
By the way, that was just one icon. I got like 10 more. So are you ready for the next one? Up next, Prince is one of the most legendary musicians of all time. And this year marks the 40th anniversary of Purple Rain. Purple Rain made Prince an icon. And he purchased the home in the film because that movie meant so much to him. But this home has never been available to the public until now. Because guests will be able to stay in Prince's bedroom, which we've restored to look exactly like it did in the film. Again, this is an actual house from the film in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Now that's awesome. I don't know if any of you guys are a fan of Prince. I don't know his music all that well. I'm wondering though, like, how do they get approval to do all this? Like on the Up House, do they have to go to Pixar to get approval? I'm sure they did. On the Prince house, how do they even get their hands on this? Do they have to talk to Prince's estate or like that whole process? I'd love to learn more about. We're probably not going to hear about that today though, but anyways.
You're going to be hosted by Wendy and Lisa from The Revolution, Prince's band. But that's not all, because you will get to listen to unreleased tracks from Prince's collection that have never been heard before.
So this is definitely a Prince superfan experience. You get to stay with his band and hear unreleased music.
Number 4, X-Men is one of the most beloved franchises of all time. And Marvel just released X-Men 97. In the series, there's a house that some of you may be aware of called the X-Mansion. And this is where Professor X trains the mutants. Okay, so here's the crazy thing. This house takes place in the series in Westchester County, New York. So Westchester County is a town just north of New York City, okay? So we had this crazy idea. We said, well, what if we went to Westchester County and looked at every single home in the entire county, and Is there one house that looks just like this?
I want to know whose job is that? Like, who is the person who works in Airbnb who's responsible for looking at every single house in Westchester County to find the one that looks like this? What's their job title? How much are they getting paid? And can I have that job? Like, are they hiring?
And it turns out there is. And you can spend the night there, living and training like the X-Men. This is the mind-blowing part. When you walk up and you open those doors and you step in, it will feel like you're inside of a comic. Because we painted every surface of this house to feel like you're in a 2D animation. This is not a rendering. This is an actual photo of the house we created. It feels like an illusion, but it's real.
I honestly don't even know how that's possible. I'm assuming they're putting some filters on this footage. Like, if you look really close, you can kind of see that this is obviously real and it's just covered in like a matte paint. I would love to see how this looks in person, but if it's playing tricks on your eyes and it actually looks like this in person, that would be a trip.
This room alone took 2 weeks to build and paint. Now, you're gonna begin your adventure here, gearing up in the ready room. I love this outfit. You'll get a little welcome video by Jubilee. You can stay in Wolverine's bedroom. You can see there's claw marks throughout the room. Again, this is a photograph. This is not a rendering. This is what it looks like when you walk inside.
I've never been much into X-Men either, at least since I was a little kid. I'm curious if any of you guys are into X-Men, and if you are, if you're recognizing some of this stuff, because this is all like going way over my head. It's very cool, but I've got no clue what I'm looking at.
Number 6, Ferrari. What I'm about to show you might be the craziest bedroom ever created. You ready? Here it is.
What?
This is where you will sleep. This is the bed, surrounded by 8 cars that have won championship races. And this room was designed and fabricated with the precision of a Ferrari. The metalwork surrounding this bed, if you were to line it up in a straight line, it would go 3,000 meters, which is the exact length of a Ferrari track. The bedding is the same interior as the inside of a Ferrari, but this is more than just a night at the Ferrari Museum, because you're gonna be able to take a hot lap with professional driver Marc Genet and attend one of the biggest races as a VIP.
Okay, so I need to stay here as well, guys. So I'm gonna show you guys how this works. We're going to go over here and we're gonna request to stay in the Ferrari Museum because I basically have to stay here. Okay, so if you click request, it's gonna tell you gotta get the app. So I'm gonna do a screen share here on my phone and you guys can see these steps here. So check this out. So if we click request, then you say how many adults are gonna stay there. Okay, we'll put 2. I typed up why I wanna stay at the Ferrari Museum. You gotta complete your profile. I've already done all these steps. It asks you a bunch of different questions about yourself, and then you click next, and it asks you about your hobbies, which is kind of weird, but I already have that on here as well. And I've got a profile since I'm an Airbnb host myself, so it's pretty complete. Click next, and click submit. Boom. They got our request. If we're selected to book, we will be notified by May 15th. That's great. So yeah, hopefully we get to stay either at the Up House or the Ferrari House. Cross your fingers for me, okay?
Our 11th icon is the Musée d'Orsay. The Musée d'Orsay is an icon of Parisian culture. Now, on the other side of the clock is a room that used to look like this until we transformed it to look like this.
Oh, I like this one. This is good. I've been to Paris. Definitely didn't stay in a place like this. I don't even remember seeing this building, to be honest, but this is great.
This room was designed by the French architect and designer of the Olympic torch, which you will sleep with next to you while you're sleeping. But it gets even better. Because when you step out on the bedroom terrace, this is your view. You're gonna have a front row seat to the opening ceremony of the Olympics. And this will be the single best seat in the house for the entire Olympics.
I cannot imagine the amount of work that went into creating some of these spaces. When you're designing something this unique that needs this type of engineering, like suspending a house in the air off of a crane for people to sleep in, just like the permitting process and the engineering that goes into that has to be off the charts complicated. Hats off to them for pulling it off.
I want to point something out here. If you were to try to lift an average house, it does not stay intact. So we had to work with structural engineers to work on its structural integrity. This crane, this giant crane, is usually used to lift windmills. And those balloons, 8,000 of them, it took people 2 weeks just to blow them up. And I want to apologize to all of them for having to do that.
Okay, and yeah, maybe it was complicated and a pain in the neck to get a lot of this stuff approved, but you know, every single one of those subcontractors and people who were involved in this were just having the time of their life taking on a project like this. Like, imagine putting that on your resume.
These are the first 11 icons that we're unveiling, and this is quite literally just the beginning because there are so many more icons coming, but what's crazy is most of them are free. All are under $100 per guest, and there are no cleaning fees.
Yeah, Airbnb got a pretty bad rap there for a while about all their fees and stuff. There's this point in time where it was like, okay, I'm gonna book a place for $200 a night for 3 nights, which should be $600, but then you get to the checkout page and it's like $1,200, and you're like, what the heck? How did I get from $200 a night for 3 nights to $1,200? But no cleaning fees on these ones.
When I was a kid, most of my life was experienced in the real world. But nowadays, much of life is experienced through device. And as life becomes increasingly digital, what we're focused on is creating more magic in the real world. And everything we do is in service to this idea.
I'm really worried that he's about to say that the next version of Icons is going to be like metaverse experiences, which I think would be really lame. Like, oh, you can just stay in your own house, but put these goggles on and it'll feel like you're staying somewhere else. No, I hope he's not about to say that. Let's see.
Because magic is not limited to our imagination. Now, the best way to experience icons is not on a screen. It's not even in a presentation. It's in real life. I couldn't fly you all to see every icon, but luckily, one of them flies, so I brought it to you.
He brought the Up House to the press conference. That's a baller move.
This is the Up House, 40,000 pound house. This will be in New Mexico with 8,000 balloons attached to it. It will be 50 feet in the air. The ceiling is only 40 feet to give you a sense. And every single thing in this house, including inside the house, is exactly like the movie. Oh, even the dog. This is Icons, the most extraordinary experiences on Earth, and I just want to thank you all for joining. And what I encourage you now is to come up. You have to see this house to believe it for yourself.
I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm really stoked about this. Like, I never thought in a million years that I would be watching an entire tech company's press release on my YouTube channel, but he did an awesome job. I love that Airbnb is putting their money into this. I think it's super cool that they're creating these really unique experiences for people, like especially if some families with some kids get to stay in a house like the Up House. I don't care what they say, that's the type of innovation that we need in this world. Yes, Airbnb could be putting their money towards other things and other causes, but they also could be putting their money towards stuff like this. I'm into it. If you guys enjoyed the episode, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below before you go. I'll see you next week.